Good evening. I am Kelly Porter. I am the author of Perfectly Planned, the memoir of my life of overcoming incest, child molestation, rape, being abandoned, promiscuity, suicide, ideations, attempts, and finding God, forgiveness, and deliverance. And today we have Rico. Rico, thank you so much for being here, Rico.
You're welcome.
Rico has read the book, and I'm going to ask Rico a few questions because we are discussing Perfectly Planned. So my first question, Rico, after reading Perfectly Planned, and I think we may have touched on this in a previous discussion, but I think it's important to get this across, so I may be redundant.
Okay.
Do you think Perfectly Planned, after reading it, do you think this book is appropriate for a 13-year-old or 14-year-old to read? And if so, tell me why.
Yes, I think it's appropriate for 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I most definitely want her to read it.
Okay.
And the reason why I say it's appropriate because it's some things that she's probably discussing with her friends that she wouldn't discuss with me. And by her reading this book, I think she'll be more open to discussing things with me.
And that's something that hasn't been touched. That is a really good point because for a teenager that can really relate to this book, if they see something wrong in their lives that went on this book, then yes, they will.
Yeah.
That was a very good point, Rico.
They most definitely will. And I'm very picky when it comes to Sydney. But I would love for her to read this, and she's going to read this.
Well, good. That's excellent. I'm glad that you feel it's appropriate because then that should help other mothers see that the book may be a little graphic in that or in details in that what happened. But here's the thing: your daughter could be experiencing that, so therefore it's not graphic.
Exactly.
You know, once a child has been introduced to sex, what's next? Drugs, alcohol? Not all the time, but these are some of the things that follow. So for the parents, don't necessarily look at the graphic details or it's too much. If they're already engaging, it's not too much.
Exactly.
It's a book that needs to be read, and it's a book that needs to be discussed. As you said, you know, a teenager reading this book may make her more open.
Yes, most
to want to talk
definitely.
to you.
Yeah, and by you saying it's graphic, this language in here, they're already speaking this language anyway.
Exactly.
Amongst each other, so I wouldn't hide it from them. They're already talking this stuff to amongst each other already. So that's why I want her to read it, and so she can be aware. Because a lot of this stuff I don't go over with her, because I'm under the impression because she's very smart that she already knows a lot of this.
And see, that's the thing. And I'm glad you brought that up because the thing with that is, just when you think they know, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't because you have to think about. She's 13.
14.
When you were 14, what did you know?
When I was 14, I was having sex.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so I always tell parents, especially with the teenagers, because that point is so critical.
It is.
They're trying to identify with themselves. They're liking boys, and they're sucking in everything the boys are telling them.
Yes.
And so
it's so scary.
Yes, it really is. And so the parents have to be very diligent in being in the teenagers' lives and making sure if they don't get this book to read it, make sure sex is discussed, alcohol is discussed, drugs is discussed, and pedophiles, because pedophiles are just as popular as sex, drugs, and alcohol.
Yes, they are.
You know?
Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
And again, like Sydney is 14, most of her friends have boyfriends. Sydney never had one. So, I mean, I know Sydney is still a virgin, but I keep telling her just, keep your mind on the books. You'll have a boyfriend eventually, but it's not time for him. But all her friends got him. They're talking to her. And she's...
That's that peer pressure.
Yeah. And she's ready to, venture out. I know she is, but...
And sex, sex is such a powerful act. No teenager can even remotely begin to understand the emotions that comes with sex. It is a complete distraction for not just teens, even us adults are distracted by the power of intimacy.
Yes.
So I personally, just speaking on the sex issue, would urge, parents to definitely, because a lot of parents don't even talk to their kids about sex.
No, they're embarrassed or they feel it's not time and then it's too late.
It is time because the moment she has her period, it's time.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and so
Definitely.
you read the chapter. Well, you read the entire book, but
Mhm.
we kind of talked a little bit prior about the chapter "Shattered Trust."
Mhm.
What did you? I know that was a short chapter, but what did you think about that chapter? Because this is like the initiation, of me being introduced to a pedophile. What did you think about that?
Right. Now that was scary. That was scary because, like I said, I never experienced any abuse. I got 8 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Most people would feel like 8 brothers. I know one of them felt on you before, but no. If anything, they beat me up. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
But I never experienced any of that. And then it was taught to me from my 8 brothers, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't let that boy do that, don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it all real at a very young age. So when I read Shattered Trust, I was like, wow. That's really happening to people. You hear about it in the news,
Mm-hmm.
But as I was reading it, I was like, I know Kelly, and I had no idea this kind of stuff was taking place in her life at such a young age.
So, did you understand? Because there are so many questions that a parent or a friend, or maybe even a boyfriend, may ask the survivor of child abuse or the adult that has experienced child abuse. They may ask them, well, why didn't you tell? Do you understand why a child will not tell? Because here's the thing. Predators, their job is to manipulate and groom. Their job is to gain your trust and turn you against the family members.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so the reason why, I even mentioned that first chapter is because that was the actual initiation. Him introducing me to being his victim in his world of manipulation, and all these other horrible things that children should not experience. And it's very important because that's how they start. And if you don't catch him in the beginning, and see, you remember, I was pushed away. I was blamed.
And you did tell.
Exactly.
You reached out. Yeah.
And when you shut a child down or you don't listen to your child, he or she is probably not going to tell again. So again, I urge the parents, if your child comes to you and says this person or that person is attempting or has done this or that, I urge you to listen to them very clearly, very carefully, sit and have a talk, and then investigate. And make sure that child does not go anywhere near that person again. And what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to tell them they're lying. I don't want you to say, I don't want to hear that. I don't want you to make them feel as if you don't believe them. Your job is to protect and trust your child and make sure your child trusts you. So again, please listen to your children.
Yeah, that one was deep. I was like, wow.
I know you said you've never been abused. So how did it affect you just internally? What did it make you feel?
Because I have, for one, I have grandchildren. And they're all boys. She got 4 boys. And every time she gets pregnant, I'm like, God, please let it be a boy.
Because you're afraid.
Because I'm afraid. And that's, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, because I'm afraid.
But see, Rico, do you know one in every 3 girls? That's right. One in every 3 girls and 1 in every 6 boys, if I'm not mistaken. They get them too.
Yes.
I'm so paranoid about Shamar. And I'll tell you something. You always have to find a positive out of every negative. And the one main thing in my life today that I find to be positive out of that entire situation is I really protect my son. I pay attention to things most parents wouldn't. I ask my son, did anyone touch you? He knows exactly what I'm talking about because we've been discussing this since he's been 3. And the reason being is they're getting the kids as young as 4.
Yes.
3, 4, and younger than that. So that's the positive that I have taken away from all of this abuse. It gives me complete focus on my son. It gives me reason to ask him, how was his day? It gives me reason to know the friends, the parents, what they're doing, their likes, their dislikes. This gives me reason to indulge completely in his life. As most parents shy away, I'm not going to shy away until my son is probably in college and can really protect himself.
I understand that.
So we're going to take a quick break. and then we'll be right back to continue this discussion on Perfectly Planned. Hi, thank you for tuning back into with us. This is Kelly, and we are at the Perfectly Planned discussion. This is Rico again. We've discussed quite a bit so far. We're going to be wrapping things up, but I do want to touch on, Rico mentioned before we went to, or during commercial break, she mentioned that she's got some grandkids and they're playing sports. Elaborate just a little bit more on the girls and the sports and the coach.
Okay. Well, like I mentioned, my daughter has 4 boys, and I'm glad that she has boys instead of girls, but boys can be molested also.
Right.
And I talk to them at least 3 times a day because they live far from me. They don't live here, where I live. So my only question to her every time is, where's the boys? I want their name. And she always be like, well, they're at football, or they're at basketball, or they're at golf. They play them all. They play all the sports. So I tell her, I know they don't ever spend a night off the coach house, right? She was like, well, no, they don't spend a night. They don't spend the night anywhere. Okay. I said, okay, that's good, because I didn't let you spend a night anywhere, just like I didn't let Sydney spend a night anywhere, okay? So, but she understands. I know I frustrate her when I call all the time.
Right.
Because, they're young.
Right.
Those are my grandsons, and I love them to death.
Right.
But I told her that by them wanting to participate in sports all the time, if someone was to do something to them, they'd probably keep quiet about it, because they want to continue playing that sport.
Absolutely.
For one, and they are trusting the person that most likely, if something happened, they're trusting that person.
So you've got a pretty good understanding of child molestation. It sounds like it, because you're going into protective mode for your grandchild, and I can tell you the same way about your daughters. And so that's a good thing, because this is what we need from parents. We need the parents to be diligent. We need the parents to be involved. We need the parents to pay attention to what's going on. So, I commend you for that. And I just want to add one more thing. Feel free to share the book with your daughter so that she'll understand exactly what you're trying to get across to her.
Most
so
definitely.
then my last question would be to you. You've read the book. You pretty much understand my experiences. Do you feel I have the capabilities to empower and or inspire others on many different levels?
Yes.
Whether it's the victims, whether it's, all different nationalities. Do you think I have, the knowledge, the experience, the background to uplift someone? And just if so, just give me a little feedback on that.
Yep. Now, before I came over here today, I had your book in hand, and someone, asked me what was this book about, and I was like, well, I'm about to go meet my friend, because it's she's going to do she's presenting her book today, and I've been working with her for the longest. Today is when she let me know that she wasn't used, and I couldn't believe it,
just from simply telling her what this book was about.
Yep. And that's when she let me know, and we talk on a daily, all day long, but I never knew until I was telling her about this book, and she pulled me to the side, and that's when she told me. I was like, really?
Wow.
I was like, you know what? I'm in a hurry, and I don't have enough knowledge to discuss this with you, but I know a person who can discuss this with you, and you really need to meet her. I'm on my way to go meet with her now.
Okay.
And I most definitely want to, but I wanted to check with you first. I wanted to give her your information so she can contact you.
So absolutely. So just simply by just mentioning the back of this book, she picked up some courage.
Yep, and pulled me to the side and told me this.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I told another young lady, feel free to give your friend my information if she's not afraid to discuss it. If she's not afraid to talk. I'm always here. This is what I do. My job is to empower and inspire women, teens, and victims of abuse. So I thank you, Rico, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and driving all the way from work and coming here to do this with me.
Not a problem.
So we're going to wrap it up by saying Perfectly Planned. If you're interested in purchasing, the website is www.celebratelifeafterabuse, and it's life with a Y. You can find me on Facebook at Kelly Porter Turner, Twitter at Miss Kelly P. The book is also sold on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. So just the last few thoughts, last few words. Parents, fathers, mothers, Keep your kids close. Don't trust your children with everyone. I know sometimes single parenting is hard. Sometimes you just want to get out. Don't sacrifice your child, because in the end, you will regret it. I thank you for listening. I thank you for tuning in. Look more of discussion coming from me as I'll be posting. And again, I hope you guys are empowered. I hope you guys are inspired. Have a good day.